All right, let's go ahead and just do this live. Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to Play It Painted Live. Hope you guys are having a good Tuesday evening. And here we go with another one of these. All right, so tonight we're going to be painting some Wrath of Kings. I love Wrath of Kings. You guys know that. But the nature of the painting tonight is not going to be terribly exciting, but still, it's Wrath of Kings. So let's just have some fun. And let's get down to some business here. I am painting the jellyfish guys from the Hadross faction, and I'm about to put on like some pretty bright. I'm going to put on a pretty bright tentacle highlight using one of my favorite go-to colors now, fluorescent magenta. And we're going to be using this MIG Universal thinner for acrylics. So he wants to sleep here. Hold on. What? Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So we are, like I said, we're working on the jellyfish from the starter. And we're just gonna mix a little bit of this fluorescent magenta, which is such a great color, super vibrant. You could also mix this with glaze medium, which is actually kind of nice too because you get a little bit extra sheen to this. Ooh. This brush got crispy. Not sure how or why it ended up doing that, but we can still use it for base coating. All right. Let's mix that up. So, got some bright magenta here, and you'll see there's going to be 12 total of these that I paint. You can see they already have a fair bit of the base coating on them. I'm just going to use this really bright magenta here as that final highlight on the end there. All right. So I do want the ends of those tentacles to look really nice and bright. So I'm just going to push the color all out to that very edge out there, right? There's some very, as you can tell, very fun sculpts. Very fun rank 2 infantry sculpts. And they're triplicate copies of each, so you get to see me do the same thing 3 times each per sculpt. But there's the cool thing is you could see I got most of the color down on these minis, so they're doing what we want. I'm gonna hop on my Discord here in case anyone wants to pop on and say hi to me. Whew. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, also we'll hop in there. And let me just stream. So, okay, good. So just stream onto that site as well. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, mate? How's it going, bud? Gotta paint some more, some Wrath of Kings. You working on anything? I think it's a pretty good. This is one of the more fun batch paints. Is when it's really something really fun like this, like a jellyfish. Something that you don't see very often, or you know, you just don't get that many opportunities to paint with this color, this palette of colors all the time. Oh, you're house sitting? Oh, cool. Yeah. Oh, Laguna Beach. So you're a whole 10 minutes away. Sorry. Necromunda, huh? That's cool. Yeah. I'm not supposed to dox uh, Matt here, but the joke is he generally lives like basically walking distance from me, but now he's a whole 10 minutes away, right? So relatively speaking, he's far away from me in another town, which is literally just you just take the one road down the canyon and you're there. So that's cool, man. Yeah, I've been. If you can't tell, I've had a cold last week. I've been fighting off a cold. It is not COVID, and I've taken so far 6 COVID tests to prove to me and the rest of the world that it is not COVID. But I've had this cough for about a week now, and it's made it difficult for me to keep up with the very aggressive painting schedule I had in mind for the next few weeks. In fact, I should have already been done with this Hadross faction and moving on to other things, other games, that sort of thing. But it's okay. I mean, I haven't fallen terribly off schedule with these. I've been doing, the kind of painting I can manage with a cough. So, like, just kind of macro stuff. As you can see, I'm not really doing that much fine detail work. Right? Get a big ol' honkin' ugly brush here. And just adding color. Right? But man, these guys are super cool. And looking forward to trying out some Hadross. I still don't feel like they're my playstyle, but one thing I learned playing Wrath of Kings is don't limit yourself to that. If you like, typically most games I like to play, sorry, fast or agile units, that kind of thing. I like playing like more objective scoring, more movement-based stuff. Thanks, sir. But in Wrath of Kings, I've come to like even like defensive playstyles, right? Like the Shale Han playstyles, and Technus has a cool kind of retaliation playstyle. It's the one game I think where you can earnestly say a defensive playstyle is viable. Okay, and the reason why I say that is when you think about most games, when they say, oh, they're a defensive playstyle, that's a defensive playstyle. That's what these guys do, and you think about dwarves or I don't know, plague bearers or something like that, right? I'm calling out GW again. But yeah, when you think defensive playstyle, the only thing that really comes to mind is I'm going to sit here and not die and just make it hard for you to do your job, right? Well, that's how we've historically looked at defensive playstyles, and it's one of the reasons why I think a lot of players, or when you hear the words like, oh, Hadross is a defensive playstyle, you probably wouldn't be that interested in playing Hadross. But when you understand how Wrath of Kings handles defensive playstyles, you might think differently. They're worth a try. And what I'm getting at is this. In Wrath of Kings, defensive playstyle doesn't necessarily mean I just live forever and you can't do anything and we score 0-1 and that's the end of the game. In Wrath of Kings, a defensive playstyle is, oh, well, if you come here and attack my guys, I'll do all these tricks to make sure that I'm hyper durable. I might bounce you off of me. I might replace around you. I might counterattack you. There's a lot of different things that are built into a quote-unquote defensive playstyle in Wrath of Kings. And there's a lot of units in Wrath of Kings that want you to hit them first. For example, Technis, the Technis citizens, right? The citizens, like the warsmiths and the regular like augmented human guys, they get the rank 1, not the warsmiths, but the rank 1 citizens, the ironclad, they get 1 attack. They're not good when you go on the assault. But if you attack them and you miss, they get a 2-die counterattack. So they would actually prefer you be the one to engage them, you be the one to initiate attacks on them, because they're pretty likely to launch an attack, a more effective counterattack back on you, right? And they have very good armor. They have like rescue skills. There's all kinds of stuff that kind of makes them play that way. Same with if you look at Pelagarth for Nasir, right? Nasir are not even really known to be a defensive faction, but that's their defensive infantry would be Pelagarth. And Pelagarth have lots of cool shield bash tricks. They have abilities to adjust dice up or down. They have the ability to ignore hits and cancel them whenever you miss. So Pelagarth can be incredibly defensive units and still play aggressive, march up the field, hold ground, like push people away. That's not your typical defensive playstyle. And that's one of the cool things about Wrath of Kings is that. Oh, sorry. Well, you're talking about defensive playstyles, right? Yeah, one of the really cool things about Wrath of Kings is that defensive playstyles are there. You can play aggressive, and it really feels like a playstyle. Like I said, it's not just a couple of stats that say you have high toughness or high armor, right? Because that's how we've always looked at it. Oh, high toughness, high armor, slow moving. You just leave them there, right? That's how we've always kind of considered the defensive army, the defensive theme. But Wrath of Kings takes a totally different approach to that. There some if you look down the line at the different factions, a lot of factions, actually pretty much all factions have their defensive type trooper, and they all kind of behave slightly differently, right? Yeah, ladies push while brutes can pull. Yeah, right? So those were a couple examples I gave where Pelagarth and and Technis, the Technis uh, Iron Infantry, okay? And those are definitely the defensive units for those factions. Uh, Looking at the other factions, Shalehan has their Dragon Legion, right? And their defensive thing is to stack up like a wall, like an actual physical wall of humans, and to uh, and basically just out survive you, or they even have the ability to counterattack or to kind of warp around you if you miss. And if you do hit, then they can hit their healing vapors and keep themselves alive, right? So a Shale Han faction really can kind of they do kind of sit there and occupy space, but they don't do that through high wounds or high toughness or high armor. They just have the technology and it's their formation and their ability to grab defensive insights to really give them the ability to stay put, to hold ground, and to take ground from you, right? Uh, when you look at Hadross, you have the Deep Men. And the Deep Men are probably the most defensive of the defensive uh, minded troops because of the fact that uh, they can assign resonance to opponents, which their army can spend on a number of different abilities. They have naturally high armor and defenses, and then for that unit specifically, they can spend the they can spend that resonance uh, to make you re-roll dice that hit. Right, so Deepkin are or Deep Men are really kind of the pinnacle of the defensive um, infantry. Sorry, doing a little patching here. So that's an idea of defensive units available to each army. Not to mention even Goritzi, which is the least defensive of all of the factions. Even they have Ravenscar mercenaries, who are their defensive unit. Now, granted, most people think they're trash, but they do have the ability to kind of toss models, like move models around, and that's what kind of makes them more defensive. They're a little harder to hit than than your Zeti War Dancers or your Skorza, but really it's about like they have the ability to help control positioning of enemy models, which can be quite useful. So yeah, this is really, in my opinion, it's really a bright feature for Wrath of Kings is you can play defense and still have a fun game, right? You're not just stuck there, standing there doing nothing, saying, "Oh, look, you can't move me or kill me. I'm playing defensively." Like that doesn't really do anything. Sorry about the coughing, guys. Like I said, I no longer have like fever or flu or ache or anything like that. It's simply just the congestion. It's been chilling out with me for the better part of a week now. And it's part of the reason why I have not been streaming, because I have not really been able to sit here and paint much. And tonight I'm not planning on painting a whole hell of a lot. I did, however, just want to plant the seed there that, hey, we are doing a Wrath of Kings World Championship July 10th. So you may want to come down to Southern California and play in something very fun, and maybe not terribly significant, but but for fun, we're calling it a world championship. Because why not? Right? Why not? If Wrath of Kings is a dead game and we successfully get 10, 12 people to show up. I mean, that's probably the biggest assembly of Wrath of Kings that you're gonna see anywhere, right? So this is no, it's not contrast. This is actually the base. The base paint is Army Paint or Speed Paint, which I have been quite fond of. It has really done me a good turn. So, but yeah, that's what we're getting at. Wrath of Kings World Championship. We gotta start getting our reps back in. It's fun. It's fun for us too because it's like when when we put together an event like that and we get people excited for it, then people have a goal, right? They have something to play for. They're gonna learn the game. They're gonna get in some reps. I like that. That's perhaps my favorite thing about organized play / competitive play is just the fact that it gives you a goal. And that goal gives you a reason to play, a reason to want to learn more. Um, and it lets you experiment with your friends, right? Like, oh, I'm going to try this crazy combination today. I've been messing around with different motivations on, the two current factions that I play right now. So not including these guys, but Shale Han and Technus. I've been trying out a bunch of different motivations, and I want to play more different types of builds with both of those armies. Like I tried an all pig build the other day. That was super cool. I want to try an all human Dragon Legion type army for Shale Han, or an all celestial type army. There's just a lot of cool stuff you can do. All right. And the other thing that's fun too is like going out and finding the trophy for something like this, right? Really trying to make it memorable for the people playing, right? You put something at stake here, and people want to play for it, and you get the exciting part is when when your old friends that you haven't seen in a while, when they're like, "Ooh, I'm interested in that," and they dig out their old armies. They maybe play some practice rounds or two, and they're gearing up. Maybe they don't live close to you. They're gearing up though for the game as well. All right. So now these guys have all these like satchels and things on there. I guess I could paint them brown. I'll just So here's something you cannot do with contrast paints. And I'm not sure if this is even going to work here, but I'm going to try it because if this doesn't go well, I honestly don't care much. Oh, if I can find the color. Because if I can't find the color, then it doesn't go at all. So they have all those pouches, right? So I'm going to try this dark wood over that already dark cloudburst blue. That's the color, that's the base color of their armor. The base color of their skin is plasmatic bolt, right? So lots of Army Painter speed paint on these guys. I'm just gonna paint pouches brown, and we're just gonna see if it will actually, right, if these will actually look brown with the Army Painter speed paint. And yeah, it definitely looks like dark leather. I would not try this with contrast paint. Actually, I'm not saying I wouldn't. I'm saying I have tried this with contrast paint, and it does not. Contrast paint, it's one of the weaknesses. It's contrast paint is almost like a glaze, where it doesn't want to cover color over color. Doesn't really work that way. But in this case, with the Army Painter speed paints, it looks like I was able to get away with it. Probably mainly because I chose a darker color. Right? Now it's not a huge difference, but you'll see once I give this a very light highlight that you will actually be able to tell a difference. Right? So let's just get all this down. Once these guys are done, there's about 8 to 10 models total left for me to do. And most of those are going to go pretty quickly. My camera is down a little bit lower than it usually is, so I apologize for that. Now, if I wanted to go with a lighter leather, I could have literally just overbrushed a light undertone and treated it like contrast paint, where you just kind of reset it with the lighter color, and then you should be good to go. But it's nice to know in this instance I can just go from a dark blue to the dark brown, the walnut brown, basically. You can see this is going pretty quickly. Oh. And then I'm gonna put a little muddy layer of water down. So it's gonna look a little murky, but that blue is so sharp it's probably going to transmit through a bit, which is what I'm hoping for. Right? These are basically the jellyfish officers, which are so much fun. I like how the Kickstarter, they give you a different sculpt officer too, so that you can say, oh, well, he's the leader. Like, he's the leader of the leaders. Okay, cool. All right, let's get on to the next stage here. Next stage is to give all these guys a really light dry brush, just to catch the edge or two here and there on a sword, catch maybe an armor plate, that kind of thing. Right. So I am just going to use a regular white dry brush paint. You just use regular white paint if you want. I like this as just kind of a cheap and easy way to do some of this dry brushing. Right? Take your wife's favorite makeup brush. Not my wife's favorite makeup brush, but you know what I mean. These are the kinds that you get at Big Lots for like, I think they went up to $2. They used to only be $1. And that was amazing. I used to just buy the whole rack because I was a jerk, but they are that good. Like, I just had a big supply of them on hand. So I would just use them and throw them out when I was done, but probably not the best thing to do these days. Anyway, right? So we're just gonna catch a couple lines on the model, right? Just want the sword to look jagged. Right, so I'm just looking to catch an edge or two on the sword. Catch an edge or two on the armor. But the less that you pick this up, the better. You don't want your model to look like it just has white powder everywhere. Right? Like I'm saying, the main edge to pick up is the, ooh, I screwed that up. The main edge to pick up is the edge on the sword. Yeah, just had a clump of paint on the dry brush. So I'll have to fix that guy in a minute. Right, so I'm just like, you can see I'm just really lightly walking by some of these areas, just grabbing an edge or two, right? I don't need it to look harsh. Just want to pick up some light here and there. This model actually has a little bit more armor showing So I do want to pick up a few more edges on that guy. Okay. Okay. Now onto these guys. Okay. Kind of nice that these guys were, they look very close to their infantry, whereas the Caxus looks very different than the Deep Men. So I'm painting the Caxus in a separate batch. Right, so the Caxus it's not gonna match the Deep Men very well. And I guess that's just a design choice I'm going to have to live with. I think this dry brush is starting to go bad on me. It's just very stiff. It's like losing it's picked up too much paint, and the paint's all dried up in there. So, but we're almost done with this process. So that's good. That's a good news, right? I don't need this dry brush pretty much after this, so. Okay, cool. All right. But to like give you an idea, here's the Caxus, right? My Deep Men were super dark, whereas the Caxus, he's going to be a bit lighter. Should actually ink this guy before I do too much of this work. But I just wanted to show you what like the Caxus looks like. And yes, I am in a process with painting the Caxus as well. Hopefully I'll work on them tomorrow night, or I'll work on some more specialists, or both. We'll see. Right? Because I got a bunch of specialists too. Yeah, that center is just too, the center's too sticky. I'm getting like, that dry brush is basically dead. Okay. This dry brush is okay. Still got a bunch of solid in the middle of it. Let me try a, well, could use this. Could use this for dry brushing. Right, but like for example, shell cracker. Let's just, oh, I don't know if this is gonna work, but all right. Right, so if I start catching that edge there with the dry brush, really continue to work that. That's where these nice little, you can start to work in some really nice really fun iridescent colors here if you wanted to. And that might have to be a thing, we'll see. I just wanted to give you some idea of what the rest of this project is starting to look like. All right, so I think that is really all the painting I'm gonna do tonight. I'm just gonna fill up and start filling some of these wells with water with our water effect, okay? And I'm gonna take my wet palette off the table because this is gonna require pretty much the whole table to space this, okay? So we're gonna use this here. This is AK Puddles. You can see it's not 100% clear. And it's that muddiness that I think sells this a little bit better than if this were purely clear. All right, so I'm gonna shake this up. And just let this thing fill up the spots it's gonna fill. This stuff actually flows out super nice. Right? And that to me looks pretty promising. It looks like that's gonna fill it up and make it look like right, like it's still seawater, but it's the murky top of the seawater. Okay. This stuff is self-leveling too, so it's super nice. Right, because you can see I put some texture down in there and painted the texture bright, or a pretty bright aqua color. so that that aqua color will still shine through when that whole thing dries. You do need to give this stuff a significant amount of time to dry, so this will have 24 hours to dry before I decide if it needs any more or if we're good to go. And the suck part about this is once these are all down, I don't move them. So these guys are just gonna live on my table here until 24 hours from now. So tomorrow night, I'll pull them off. I might do another stream, maybe with Jake. So we could talk more Wrath of Kings. Go. Here we go. This guy, obviously my favorite of the squid guys, the jellyfish guys. All right, and the last three. Let's go ahead and get these guys down. Big ol' air pocket. Sometimes you get a big old air bubble like that. That bubble will break, and even if it doesn't, it's kind of cool. It should break. Okay. I don't know why my signal looks so bad, but let's just keep going. You guys won't be able to see the final two here because, as you can see, I've populated the entire visible area of my table with the models. Okay. And last one. All right. So we'll let those dry. That's everything. So with that, guys, I think we're at a good point to call it a night. All right, 10 o'clock, let's go to bed. get rid of my cough. Hopefully have a better stream tomorrow night. So, so with that, I want to thank everyone for watching. Have a good night, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.